Welcome again to the Reclaim Inner Peace Summit. This is your host, Shivani Gunnell, and I have with me the president of the International Yoga Teachers Association, Mary Louise Parkinson. Welcome, Mary Louise.
Hello, Shivani. How are you? And welcome to all of your viewers as well.
Thank you. Now, I know that Mary Louise is also a holistic counselor and a very adept yogi and yoga teacher. And like I said, she is now the president of the International Yoga Teachers Association, which is not bestowed to everybody. Let me tell you that.
Oh, I feel so honored.
Oh, you are welcome.
It is an honor, actually. It's an absolute honor to be president of such a well-respected
huge organization. Yeah,
it's an amazing organization. Yeah,
absolutely. So, Mary Louise, tell me a little bit. Did yoga find you, or did you find yoga, or how did you come to yoga?
Well, it kind of found me at a very young age at high school, in a public Australian high school, co-ed, and it was introduced for the young women to help with premenstrual problems and to give them a little bit of calm around exams. And I think how insightful that public school was to introduce that. Mind you, we had to wear a full black leotard to come to the class, or we weren't allowed to come to the class. But at the same time, I was intrigued by it. I thought it was fascinating. I know I'd run home and say to my mother, "Mum, you even get to exercise your eyes, and you do this thing with candles where, you get to stare at the candle and it just makes your mind so calm." I was amazed by it. Yeah, and so I'd go home and watch this television program, which was hosted by this amazingly exotic, beautiful red-headed woman called Roma Blair, who wore leopard skin leotard. And so I'd go home and practice yoga as well in front of the television. And I was the only one in the family who really caught on to the benefits of what it was about. Something was planted anyway. Obviously, my Dharma then was planted from a very early age. So I went on to not carve out a career in yoga or even in the wellbeing industry, although I became a vegetarian at a very young age as well. I actually went on to create a very successful career in the IT industry for over 20 years with leading international computer companies such as Apple Computer. I was their education manager for Australia, and Cisco Systems, I was their channel manager, marketing manager, and education manager for that organization. So led a very high-flying career. Literally flying around the world. One of the first women in Australia to really make it to such, to general manager level, which I was very proud of, but it kept me very busy and very stressed. Mm-hmm. So yoga, I could take yoga anywhere with me. I'd go to New York and I didn't even need a yoga mat. I tell you, though, it was very hard back then to find yoga classes. They would be in little back streets, on the top of some dingy little vegetarian cafe. It was very hard to find a yoga class. Mm-hmm. But I persisted and found them around the world. So yoga kind of stayed as the background for me throughout my career. And then I had a marriage breakdown and everything kind of went haywire. So I seriously went back to yoga. And this time I truly embedded it in my life, and I became so intrigued with how it worked. I wanted to know how it worked. So what is it behind this yoga? What was the science behind it that made it work? Because I knew it wasn't just the postures. Mm-hmm. It was far deeper than that. It was a holistic practice that just worked. So my teacher recommended that I start studying with the International Yoga Teachers Association to do my diploma of yoga teaching. And I said, but I don't want to be a yoga teacher. I just want to learn more about the philosophy. Well, lo and behold, a couple of months into the course, I was already teaching beginner's class, prenatal class. She had me teaching everything, as well as my career. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it was lovely. But I did get it. I really got it. And I loved learning about the philosophy, the science, this ancient wisdom that's thousands and thousands of years old was just intriguing to me. So yeah, after studying with OIT, I then went on to do different modalities as well. So counselling, as you mentioned, I wrote a book on postnatal support for women, which is still my passion, pre and postnatal yoga. I studied with different yoga schools to learn different modalities. I studied anatomy and physiology, blah, blah, blah. Once you start learning, as you know, Shivani, you just keep going. And particularly when you study yoga, you no sooner have learnt a bit and you go, oh my God, I know so little. I have to keep learning. And then you get to there and you go, oh my God, I know so little. I have to keep learning. And it's like that. You just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper into this labyrinth of studying the self. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I then had children and decided to leave Sydney, not leave my children, leave Sydney to raise our children. So my partner and I bought a 200-acre property on the south coast of Sydney, and we built and ran an eco-yoga retreat for 10 years where we would bring people out of Sydney, out of Canberra, to a pristine environment in the middle of the wilderness on a river, completely self-sufficient with solar power, satellite telephone, satellite internet, water from the river, cow to drink our milk, veggie garden, and we taught them a yogic lifestyle and a vegetarian lifestyle. So I taught vegetarian cooking as well. So that was pure bliss for 10 years. During that time, we realised we needed to give more because we'd had such a blessed life. So we went to Nepal as a family, took our children, 6 and 11 at the time, and we worked and lived in Nepal as volunteers, and subsequently developed an NGO there during the Maoist uprising. So we still today support 2 orphanages, run those orphanages, and run many, many projects in Nepal. And of course, since the earthquakes, continue to do that, building schools and so on. So then after creating the Nepal part of our lives chapter, I started an import business. But then we moved back to Sydney. My children and I moved back to Sydney after a marriage breakup, number 2. We moved back to Sydney. And when I moved back to Sydney, I became in contact with OITA again. And I have to say the thread of OITA, not just yoga, but OITA, is said to me time and time again that people who do this training with OITA join a family, and they may drift away for a while, but then they'll go to England. I've got people in England at the moment, and there are OITA people there. They go to Spain, there are people there. I came back to Sydney and my OITA family was here, and I reconnected with them, and I subsequently developed the first 150-hour postgraduate pre- and postnatal training for yoga teachers, which I have to say is the most professional course available to yoga teachers who want to teach pregnant women and new mothers. So as a result of that, they thought I did a pretty good job because they then voted me in as their vice president and subsequently president, the role of which I hold today, and I have 1 more year to go in my tenure with that organisation.
So you're really upholding the integrity of the RYTA and what the RYTA stands for. Is part of it. Is that part of your job?
Well, I think RYTA upholds the integrity. It was really interesting because when I was voted in as president, it came as quite a surprise because I didn't have long in the vice presidency role. I felt a bit overwhelmed with that responsibility, and a very wise past president said to me, Mary Louise, OITA has a life of her own, and she attracts who she needs in order to continue her journey. So you just happen to be that person at the time. So, in other words, don't let it go to your head that you're so, important. You're not there for a role, as is everyone.
Yeah.
And that's, again, what I love about the organisation. Just to run through some of the reasons why I love it, and I know you love it, and other yoga teachers who have done the training, it's one of the few non-profit organisations that does yoga teacher training. It's international. It respects all lineage of yoga. It doesn't block people into a franchise or a style of yoga. Its aim is to teach classical hatha yoga as laid down by Patanjali, and we'll go into that in a moment. So it doesn't make money out of the courses. No one's in it for ego. No one runs it. It's run by a democratically elected group of people. There's set term of office, so no one can dominate it. It's just a highly ethical, beautiful organisation. And unlike a lot of yoga now, which, it's become so trendy, whenever you get a trendy industry and there's money to be made or there's ego to be made, I'm not sexist, but you do find a lot of men at the top of those organisations. You know, you look at any of the big schools and there's usually blokes making a lot of money at the top. That's not the case with OIT. It's mainly dominated by women because, you know, let's face it, it's mostly women that teach yoga and go to yoga. Trying to change that. But so, yeah, and it's very relevant today because yoga, I heard just towards the end of last year in Australia, yoga is now the most popular sport and growing sport in Australia. So that's staggering. That means more people are increasingly going to yoga over soccer.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah. It's huge. So as a result of a big industry, as I said before, that attracts people who want to make money and people who want to get into it, you know, as a business, which is logical. However, that also brings about a lot of people taking advantage of this growth and people wanting to become yoga teachers and thereby jumping on the bandwagon. So it's almost as though every corner yoga studio now offers yoga teacher training, which horrifies me. Because OITA has put nearly 50 years into yoga teacher training, was the first organisation in Australia to be established, 1967, to provide yoga teacher training in an ethical manner with a high value on safety. But not only that, delivered in a way that is highly balanced and based on a sound education. So a sound education, for instance, doesn't take you to Bali for 5 days to become a yoga teacher. Now, if that was sound education, why wouldn't we be sending our doctors, instead of them doing a 5-year degree at university spread over a 5-year period, why wouldn't we condense that to 9 months, take them to Bali and become a doctor in 9 months? And my question to you and your viewers is, would you trust going to that doctor when they returned with their certificate on the wall saying, and also if they'd been trained by one person. So one doctor, he's got his medical degree, he sets up a university or a school in Bali, calls himself, you know, the School of Medicine Bali, trains them in 7 to 9 months, sends them back to Australia. Would you trust that person? Probably.
Of course not.
No. So why are people trusting people who are doing 5, 10-day yoga courses? You know, we know that in education these condensed ways of training people don't work. They're not long-lasting. Good education is spanned over a period of time, particularly something as holistic and deep as yoga. You're not just learning 20 postures. It's got very little to do with the postures. It's the philosophy, it's the mind-body balance of all, which we know through studies that have now been done, proven studies that are coming out in medical journals and science journals as to how yoga works, and we know it works. And it's believe me, it's not learning to stand on your head.
No. I mean, my experience is that when I did a lot of training as well, it's really personal and spiritual growth. If you take yoga teaching and the training, you know, to the depth that you teach it, you can't not become a better person and going inwards.
Yes.
It's not just, as you said, well, I'll just show you 23 postures and this is how you do it and this is how you talk people through. No.
Yeah, it's not a holiday in Bali, which is what they are. They're holiday Bali retreats.
I know.
They're not teaching. So, and that, our students tell us that, our graduates tell us that, you know, it's over this 12-month, usually longer than that by the time they get there. It's usually about 15 to 18-month period as a minimum. And they say, look, it took me that long to really get it. You know, the first couple of months, I was a bit overwhelmed because there was so much to learn. I thought it was just the postures, but there's so much more to it. And then, you know, I had to practice this breathing practice every day and keep a journal. And I was noticing changes in myself and starting to integrate what, you know, the lecturers were all talking about. And it changed my life. That's the most common thing you hear people say. This training has changed my life, and I will forever be indebted to it and the International Yoga Teachers Association for keeping such a highly ethical, professional organisation together, which is just dedicated to training yoga teachers and supporting yoga teachers. So, yeah, I feel extremely honoured to be part of the organisation, and I'll continue even when I finish as president. I'll continue as a volunteer and hopefully stay on the faculty. And we've got nearly, probably, I think about 30 lecturers. Not one. It's not one person who thinks they know yoga trying to explain that to other people, which you can't possibly do. I couldn't deliver a whole course. It would be impossible. So we have all these experts who are experts in their field. We've got an expert in breathing, pranayama practice and meditation, another one who is an expert on the philosophy, the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Sutras. We have another one who is the expert on asana practice. You know, we've got a team of 6 lecturers who deliver just the basic postures and how to teach them. Another team of 3 on our anatomy and physiology team. You know, so again, I say, how can one person who owns a studio think that they could deliver such comprehensive training to people? And if any of your viewers are watching this and thinking of doing yoga teacher training, I would love for them to really think about it. And I'll actually pass on to you through one of the links an article that I had published in one of the yoga journals, which is 10 points to consider if you're considering yoga teacher training. Yeah. And I know it's been published in several places to help students who are looking for yoga teacher training. You know, what are the things you need to look out for? It's not a plug for IYTA. It's just in general saying, you know, what should I be looking out for, and what is good training and what is not good training.
Because I think also that what a lot of people don't realize is that you are literally entrusted, like you are entrusted in teaching and upholding the well-being of your student, and the well-being is really holistic. So it's body, mind, spirit, and also emotions. Yes. And I remember thank God I've had also other training, and also it helped me greatly, you know, with the IYTA training, that if you put a person into a posture and you can skillfully guide them through it, sometimes you might have an emotional release, and you need to be able to facilitate that and be okay with that, because it is body, mind, emotion, and spirit. It's not just body beautiful and, you know, putting yourself into a pretzel and look good.
No, and that is the case with a lot of yoga today. However, we are becoming more regulated. There are organisations in America, Yoga Alliance, and here in Australia, Yoga Australia, trying to get a handle on regulating the market. It's hard for them and ourselves to try and bring those yoga teachers together to be part of an association. But I believe it is happening, and it is being demanded by the marketplace that happens. Unfortunately, I think the bar is too low by both of those organisations, because, again, if I ran a little studio here from my home in Freshwater, I could easily hang up the shackle and say Mary Louise's yoga teacher training and meet both of those organisations' criteria to do that. And I think that's pretty shocking that I could get away with that, given the amount of knowledge I know. I still believe that's terribly wrong, that one person has the ability to deliver something as in-depth as yoga. It's wrong, and it shouldn't be allowed. But you know, gradually, as the industry matures, I believe that will change, and the bar will have to get higher.
And also there's so much more demand now, you know, for teachers, because I think we are in such a stressful world that you will have more and more and more students that want, you know, to do yoga. And if you can serve them in a holistic way, even if your students don't quite know why they come to yoga, they've just heard about yoga, but you know, you can also change people's lives. So you do a training that totally, for the better, changes you into a more rounded person, more happy person within yourself. But what a better gift than to pass that on to your students, and also be really confident in your teaching. And also, as you said, I love the community, and I still have really good friends in Sydney who are part of the RYTA. I remember when I lived in Singapore for a little while, I visited RYTA teachers, and you know, there's just something that we all have in common
Yeah.
that connects us, and I don't think you get that anywhere else.
Yeah, I think you're right, Shivani. There's something special, and I think what the special thing is with OITA, a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's non-profit
Yeah,
organisation, and its high ethical values. I think if you do teacher training, and I don't know, I can't say that, but if you just do a commercial course, I think it would be very different to the feeling that's set up within RYTA. And the other thing is the ongoing commitment to its members and teachers with RYTA. You know, every month they get a free video to keep them up to date with current teaching trends. And that accounts for people who are remote. And let's face it, we've got teachers all over Australia, all over the world. We had 3 students last year from Oman doing the teacher training.
wow.
So how do they keep up to date with current trends? Well, they get a free online video, and that keeps their continuing professional development up to date. So things like that. And the organisation's always thinking about, well, how can we benefit these teachers and keep them up to date with an eye on safety, because it's all about safety for themselves as well as their students. Things
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
I mean, I had an instance where one of my students had a heart attack during the yoga nidra relaxation.
Wow.
So you watch your students very carefully. You are the mother hen when they are practicing, and as you say, you put someone in a twist. Twists activate the kidneys. Kidneys are where we hold fear. Anything can be released in that at that time, and you see students crying. How are you going to cope with that situation? Are you a teacher who is just a show pony at the front of the class? You're too busy doing your twist. You haven't got a clue what your students are reacting to or emotionally releasing, because you may not even care. You just want to show them the best posture. They don't want to see the best posture. The whole art and craft of yoga with the ancient yogis is passing on the tools for people to heal themselves and integrate this into their own life, not to keep coming back to you to show so you can show off doing a headstand. That's not what it's about.
And you know, no, I totally agree, because your students will also come to you with their life questions, they will share their joys and their, you know, not so good times as well. And quite often you become a little bit of a counselor as well. You know, so it is holistic, because usually, I mean, sure, my students say leave within 10 minutes. You know, I don't encourage for students to hang around after the class for an hour, but it's, yeah, people, you know, the longer they come to you, the more they will share. And yes, you know, hey, you know, Jane's husband just lost his job and they're financially strapped, or, you know, like it's more than if you would go to a gym and you do your exercise routine and you leave again.
Yep, I think
You
you
know,
touched on a really important thing, and that is that sense of community that people have and support. And I think a lot of this too has to do with the times, the age that we're going through, particularly in the West, with the demise of the church and religion. And people need faith. That's not to say yoga replaces that in any way, but I think there are a lot of people searching who previously would have been members of a church community. You know, when I was growing up, everyone was a member of a church community. And nowadays, not everybody is. And they're still looking for that sense of peace and prayer and sanity and compassion and community. And I think a lot of cases, yoga is providing that.
absolutely, yeah. I think so. Especially if it's taught right.
Well, if it's taught right, and if the intention of the teacher is to create that safe space, and it's not a religion. Let's make that quite clear. It's yoga is not a religion. It's a way of life. It's a set of tools that was handed down by Patanjali thousands of years ago. Quite explicit tools as to how to bring a sense of calm and balance within this human being that we are, which includes mind, body, spirit. It is those those three and more? How do we bring that harmony? And never has there been a more stressful time than today's age, where there are so many demands on people's senses. Life is so fast. I think the planet's speeding up. You can feel that if you're an energy person, you can feel that speed. And particularly in a city where there's so much going on with, all of the radiation and waves that you can't see, but you can feel.
Absolutely.
To have those tools, and to be honest with you, a yoga class that's just doing the postures is adding to that frenetic energy and frenetic pace, particularly in a lot of these fast-paced yoga classes. There is no time for contemplation and stillness. And
I remember when I lived in Sydney, I was asked by this gym, and they seriously asked me, can you do a lunchtime yoga class within 45 minutes? And I just laughed at them. I said, no way.
They probably found someone else to take your place.
Yeah, probably. But it was like, hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like in out, like do a few postures and you feel good, and you can go back from lunch and say, I've done something for myself. But and especially I think we are so much into comparing ourselves. We are so much into being competitive. And it takes quite a while to let that one go. And that's also part of yoga. It's the journey. It's go within. It doesn't matter what anybody else does or how you look like. It's how you experience it.
Yes. And isn't it interesting to see the students who come to yoga for the first time and they're fidgeting, and even in relaxation they can't, the hands are going and the feet are going, and I don't know how many cups of coffee they've had before the class, but this is all moving, and the eyes are wide open, they can't close their eyes, and they're looking at everybody else and trying to do what the person next to them is doing. And then over weeks you gradually see less fidgeting during the relaxation, and this is a safe place now, I can close my eyes. I don't have to watch the person next to me. I can listen to what the teacher's saying and go inside and wait for the pause between the breath. Oh my God, I couldn't see that before. Just an inhalation, exhalation. And now I can pause between the breath. I can observe my body. And what an absolute gift that is as a teacher, to see someone progress through that and then take that into their life and have moments of stillness in their life, moments of pauses in their life where, it's like that image of the Buddhist monk walking down the busy city street, and he's walking in a lovely space of his own while the rest of the world moves around him. We can all do that. We can all do that, and we have the tools to teach them that. As long as teachers are trained well, professionally, with ethical organisations, with a duration of their course, which is over a period of time when student teachers can integrate what they're learning, with a course that, adheres to good educational standards, with a proper faculty, not one person trying to deliver all of this. So again, I harp back to what OITA stands for, and that is professional, ethical yoga teacher training, which can be done by anyone around the world. We are an international organisation. So I just urge your viewers to have a look at the website. We are getting a new website this year as well. So it's ioita.org.au, which I'm sure
will be next to you. Yes.
And we'll give some free videos to your viewers as well to have a look at. They're welcome to do that. And also the points as to what to look out for if they do want to undertake.
That's lovely. So I would really encourage anybody who's contemplating of becoming a professional yoga teacher. And I actually really believe it's the most, after having taught for 28 years, it's one of the most rewarding careers that you can have. And careers really in inverted commas, because I think it's a calling. You will have to, it has to be in your heart, you're called, even if you're scared. And like you, I was, oh my God, a yoga teacher. No way, I can't do that, being really scared. But I think once you start and you learn more, and because also with good training, you get more and more confident. You're not just thrown in immediately, hey, here you go, after 2 months or a month, go out and teach. right?
Mm.
So we will have a link that's next to Mary Louise, where she very graciously made available. It's 2 videos that you can have a look at. Which one is the Bhagavad Gita, which goes more into the deeper philosophy, but the other video is a yoga class that's being demonstrated. And yeah, I can wholeheartedly endorse the IYTA as the most comprehensive, professional, but also people are loving, people are accepting, people are fun, you know. It's not just, this is serious. I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's, people are very heart-centered. And there's great joy because you have yearly get-togethers, you have conventions. You know, when you came up with the convention to Cairns, it was just so lovely because I met so many old friends.
Yes.
And people stay in the organization. Like normally when you start becoming a member, that's it. You're a member for life.
You know, that's interesting, Shivani, because
Isn't
we're preparing at the moment for the OITA 50-year anniversary, which is being held at Sydney Town Hall 20th to 22nd October 2017. And in the course of organising that event, I've been speaking to a lot of older OITA members. Some of them are in their later 80s and 90s, and they are still teaching yoga.
Yeah, amazing. So
They are
inspiring.
wonderful, amazing people. And I want to be like that. I want
Exactly.
to teach yoga. Yes, so
Yeah.
may it continue.
Yeah, yoga is such a blessing. So
Yeah.
it's available to you, to everybody who listens. And if you get the calling to become a teacher, I think there's only one organization to go with, and that's the RYTA. So,
Oh, thanks.
no, well, look, it's true. I'm serious. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well,
because I
thanks.
tell you what I also like about the RYTA is, as you mentioned before, you have all the different branches of teaching come together. You know, there's no such thing as, well, this particular, you know, lineage is better than the other, and we are doing this way, because that's very un-yogic,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a franchise that'll make you teach a particular style
Exactly.
of yoga. The idea is to give you a very
Broad
balanced view
foundation, yeah.
of good classical hatha yoga. And then if you have a calling to go and do acro yoga or another style of yoga, I went on to do Juru yoga as well. So you
Yeah,
can then build upon your platform
yeah,
to continue your training,
yeah,
which we actively encourage people to do. But
exactly.
as a basic foundation,
Mm,
it's like when you go to university. It's your basic diploma. If you want to do medicine, that's your diploma. But then if you want to specialize, then you go and do your specialty. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And same within OITA. I mean, I'm as I said, I'm passionate about pre and postnatal yoga. So you can go on to do postgraduate studies in pre and postnatal if back care is your area of interest. And I have to say, with the aging population that we have, the demographics not only in Australia but around the world, do you think people are going to have back care issues as they get older? Of course. Is there a growing
Absolutely.
demand for teachers to specialise in that area? Absolutely. So
Yeah,
there's a fantastic course which is run by physiotherapists for OITA. So that's a great course to do. And then there's all sorts of courses and workshops
yeah.
that will continue
Because
to.
yeah, I think you need to get to know yourself first. Who are you as a teacher? And
Yeah.
as you said, get the, you know, the foundation, and then as you go out and teach, you will notice you might want to teach children. You might want to go into mental health. You might go and teach seniors, you know, or pre or postnatal. I used to love teaching women with babies. Adored
Yeah.
it, you know. So the sky really is the limit, but
Yes.
you need to get a really solid foundation, and then you do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
thank you so very much for your time, for sharing, you know, the ethics, the values of the RYTA, and please click on the link check it out. And yeah, I think it will be great. Welcome to the community.
Yeah, thanks, Shivani. Lovely chatting with you.
You are welcome.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.